take me a little while though just to set things up, and also hopefully to attract some wildlife for the camera behind me. So let's just check we are up and running. I'm going to try and not do this in my sunglasses, but wowzers, it is hot this morning. Hey, good morning, Claire Humphreys, my first person to log in, letting me know that it's working. Thank you very, very much. Right, okay, so let's get started. Oh, that's really glary. Okay, welcome to my live Q&A this morning. I have already got a few local residents on hand to help us talk through the wildlife that I've got here on my own patch. I've got my swallows circling around my head right now. And hello to Edward and William, to Ricky Wallace, age 10. Great, fantastic. We seem to be working on all channels. That's a really good start. Eva, Eden, and who was that? To Toby P, to Mary Mackay and Swindon. Hello, you all. Right, let's get started. So, to any of you out there who are new to this, I have, at the beginning of lockdown, I set up a YouTube channel, and I've been doing these live wildlife Q&As every week. I've developed it so that now I have wildlife cameras on a whole bunch of my my local wildlife and stuff. And today, the theme is change. So that can be just about anything. Send in your questions live about change. I'll try and get stuck into them and change. It could be metamorphosis. It could be how our world changes with the seasons. It could be how life and wildlife has changed over this last couple of months on lockdown. Hello to Year 4 at Solby School in the Isle of Man from Erin. Hello, you all. Really, really nice to be in contact with you guys. And to Dylan, Daisy, and Darcy and Cromer who watch every week. Thank you, guys. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. So I've already got lots and lots of questions about metamorphosis, but first of all, let's start off with some hellos. A massive 11th happy birthday to Ethan. Thank you so much for watching all of these, and thank you to your dad as well for making it happen. A shout out to Daniel, who is 6 today. Rafferty, who would love a birthday mention, he's going to be 6 tomorrow. My wife Sarah Mitchell, who is happy birthday on Wednesday. She watches every Wednesday with Matthew and Jacob. Hello, you all. Birthday shout out to Cole in Sydney, Australia, who will be 8 this week. Hannah's birthday on the 19th, which is that tomorrow? I don't know, time is just all merging into one at the moment. Hi to Joshua as well from Ireland. Finn Bromley for his 6th birthday. Poppy in Norwich. To Flo and Emily McCardle. Hello, you both! And hello as well to Carl and Pam, my local neighbours. Plus to Tess, next door, who is the best neighbour ever. And yeah, hopefully when all this lockdown's finished, is going to be our babysitter as well. So hello to you all. I've just got a message through, which may well be from Helen, telling me that things are working. They are working. Good news. Okay. Also to Jamie Whitehead and his twin, Albert. Right. So our first question comes in from Gracie, aged 9, and Jack, aged 6 in Devon. They're very keen nature spotters and noticed there is a lot more birdsong since the lockdown. They've even seen a green woodpecker in their garden for the first time. How will lockdown have affected the populations of birds in England? And Saul Hand, who is 7, again, happy birthday Saul from Scarborough, would like to know, have birds been more active during lockdown, or does it just seem that way? And also to James, who'll be 8 in 2 weeks' time, very similar question. He's noticed more wildlife. Is it true, or do you think it's because people are not so hectic and are taking time out to notice nature and wildlife around us? I think it's a bit of both. So obviously I've been in lockdown on this stretch of river, and I've had a more kind of intimate association with it this year than ever before. And what I've noticed is that it's definitely been improved, like massively, stratospherically improved. And that's mostly down to the fact that we just haven't had any boat traffic. So the nesting birds that nest at water level, like for example coots, so this is a coot nest just upriver from us, have not had to contend with the constant traffic of motorised boats. And because of that, their nests are not being washed out by the wake caused by these boats, particularly the boats that are travelling too fast, and the success has been extraordinary. I have never seen so many youngsters as we have on the stretch of river right now. Part of it, though, is also, yes, definitely going to be that we're focusing on it more, and we're wanting to I guess process and understand the spring this year more than ever, and particularly on our home patch and in our back gardens and in our backyards. But I think there is no question that lockdown will have been really, really positive for wildlife in certain situations. Whether that lasts or not, it's very difficult to tell. So the birds here that have had great success, that have had more ducklings and more chicks than they ever have before, they're expecting there to be a high mortality rate. They're expecting a lot of those to not make it through to adulthood. And that may not change. Boat traffic is set to start up here again next week. And all of the other factors, natural predators, are still going to be the same. So whether there is any long-term potential benefits from lockdown, who knows? One bird that I have definitely been focusing on more than I would do normally has been our swallows. So we have been lucky enough to have swallows that turn up here every year, and they perch right behind me on the. This is on our TV antenna. Absolutely stunning birds, and they nest right underneath the dock behind me. So this is footage of the swallows flying in and out to their nest, which is underneath that dock. And I have managed to put up this rather wonderful camera underneath that dock, and we've got a pair of swallows there right now, which is just absolutely fantastic. And having had this opportunity to watch them setting up this nest, building the nest, and starting to take interest in the camera. Ignore, by the way, the timestamp on that. I just couldn't figure out how to get it sorted. But you can see her there settling down onto the nest. She has got eggs there already. We've seen her turning those eggs. And it's been, for me, a fantastic opportunity to watch this bird and watch its life unfolding in a way that I wouldn't do normally, because I would be on expeditions. And I think that is probably similar for a lot of people who might be at work or at school, and all of a sudden the things that are happening in their back garden have been that much more immediate for them. Okay, we'll move on to our next question, actually. So Maddie, who's 7 from Somerset, asks, is there anything they can do to protect their swallow's nest and their babies from the magpies that are always watching them? Magpies are so sneaky. They are amazing predators, particularly of birds' chicks. And one of the things that swallows have as a defense is purely to build their nest somewhere that magpies can't get to. So the nest that I was just showing you is right under that dock there. It's just above the water, and the swallows fly in, and they basically are in a place that very few predatory birds can get to. They're safe from the herons, they're safe from the gulls, and I would say safe from the magpies. If your swallows have built a nest that is much more exposed than that, there really isn't a huge amount you can do, although you could think about putting in artificial nesting boxes for next year that have some kind of degree of protection against natural predators. Lots and lots of wonderful stuff being sent in by you guys. This in particular I really liked was from Grace, who said she saw this skull while she was out on a walk, and could I tell her what it might be? Well, Grace, I definitely can, actually, because I've got something very similar myself here. So this is an Arctic fox skull, which I found up in the Arctic tundra, and it is pretty much identical, probably a little bit smaller than the one that you saw. So yes, yours is a fox skull, and very, very similar in form to this, although mine would be slightly more shortened, and if you could see the ears, they would be smaller and basically not able to give away so much heat to the surrounding environment. We've also had some lovely skull photos have come in from Elsie, who sent this in and wants to know if I can tell her what this skull is. Beautifully photographed. Just a word though, if you are sending photos like that in, put something in there for scale so that you can, even if it's just a coin, something that everyone is going to know what it is. Makes it much easier to work on IDs. In this case though, it was fairly simple because I have got one of those skulls. That's it right there. That is a badger skull, so it's much more stout and shorter than the fox skull, and it has several adaptations which allow it to have a much stronger, much more robust bite. So running down the centre of the skull is this. It's called the Sagittal Crest, and that anchors the muscles that drive the jaw closed. And then these zygomatic arches, don't worry, there's not going to be a test, you don't have to remember any of this. Those also anchor jaw muscles that give this a really strong, powerful, potent bite. So your skull is of a badger, albeit a little bit older and more battered than my artificial version. I have to say, I sent these photos off to Professor Ben Garrett, who is a good friend of mine, and he not only said, yeah, no, you're right, yeah, no, fox badger, but he said, yeah, it's a male fox, probably quite old, from the worn dentition. All right, Ben, no one likes a show off, seriously. Okay, we've got lots of questions coming in about badgers. As any of you who've been watching these live Q&As for the last 10 weeks will know, I've got cameras on my local badger set, which has been amazing. Again, getting to watch the intimate lives of these animals as they're living their nocturnal and sometimes diurnal daytime lives. So I've got questions coming in from Ariane, who's 5, and Suki, who are 3, from South London, who want to know why badgers are looking in their garden and why they only come out at night. And from Ben and Emily Clark, 11 and 9, we love wildlife in our garden, but the badgers come in every night and dig big holes all over the lawn. We've tried to keep them out with poor Dad filling in holes. Oh, poor Dad. But they find another hole. Why is our lawn so tasty? So I'm going to illustrate this, not with some of my own footage, but with some footage from George Tucker, who is 10 years old, from Truro in Cornwall. So he filmed this badger coming out of a hole under his fence. And I just love this footage because you would so rarely see a badger behaving like this, driving itself through that hole, and you can see its muscularity, the strength of the animal. What I was talking about with the skull there, having, you know, bite force and strength and sturdiness. This is so much more powerful than any other animal that we have around here for its size. What it's looking for in your gardens, even though it is a really strong, powerful mammal, is things like beetle larvae and worms. They don't tend to, although they will occasionally predate things like rabbit kittens, but most of the time they're feeding on invertebrates. And what can you do to make your lawn less tasty to badgers? Well, good luck with that. I think if you've got them, you've kind of got them, and learn to love them because, they are going to decimate your lawn. Let's see what we've got coming in live now. So I've got the live questions streaming in here. Hello, Edith in Cornwall says, I see a swan nest every day on the creek near where I live. You live near a creek? That's brilliant. Hello to Joseph and Ryan Waldork from Harry Greenwood, age 6 in York. Hello, you all. To Maisie and Freya, Ozzy and Molly. Good morning, Gillian says. What a beautiful spot. It is lovely. Claire Davis, hello from Bagshot. Wow, that's where I was born and where I grew up. Amazing. From Gabriel, age 8 in Sea Palling in Norfolk. Hello, you all. How you doing? Good morning from Ruby. Joseph, hello. Deborah saying, a glorious day. It is a glorious day. From Jake Hand, who is 10 today in Braintree. Hello, and happy birthday to you, Jake. And to Jessica, a Beaver Scout in Solihull. Really good to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we've got Luca, Sophia and Grace Atchim in Cheshire. They would really love to see badgers in the wild. What are the signs to look for and what is the best time to see them? So badgers are quite shy and mostly nocturnal, so it is quite tricky to see them out and about. And you know, really, you kind of need to be using your powers of deciphering the world around you. I had a video to show you about this, but I've just realised I haven't put it into my broadcast suite. Darn it! All that time with the camera traps and I haven't set it up right. Seriously, trying to do this whole thing on my own is an absolute nightmare. So anyway, I'll go back to your question, which is how do you find them? How do you find the best time to find them? Well, really what you're looking for is their tracks and signs. So our previous questioners who were asking about their lawn being dug up, you know, badgers just excavate like they've come in with an industrial digger. And you will be looking for signs of their set. The set characteristically has a shape to it, which is like a D on its side, whereas a rabbit or a fox's hole will tend to be more vertical like that. So the badger's set is more horizontal and has more of a D shape to it. And then look for their guard hairs, the classic black and white guard hairs, which you could find under a barbed wire fence, caught on the little bits of the wire, or on hedges, or if they've had to go over the top of low slung rocks or logs or things like that, because their bellies graze the ground and they will quite often leave those hairs behind. What else have we got? Carl Alcorn, aged 10, asks, all animals go through maturation in some form. Yes, this is true, but there are some species born pregnant. My question is, are there any animals that can reproduce after death? Carl, that is an amazing question, and I am guessing that you are probably going to end up being a zoologist. There's so much to answer there. I have to make sure I don't get too sidetracked. Okay, so animals that are born pregnant. It's usually said that aphids are born pregnant. There are some other invertebrates, possibly. It's not common in the natural world, that's for sure. Although parthenogenesis, which is so-called virgin birth, is, but those animals aren't born pregnant. As animals that can have young after death, I'm racking my brains and I can't think of anything. I guess us human beings now with science are getting to that point where we could potentially do that. What an amazing question. Holy moly, that made me think. Hello, a massive hello to Charlotte and Joe. Love you guys. To Ellie and Finn as well. Thank you for your amazing questions, and thank you very much for your mummies and daddies who have been so great to me through my career. Massive shout out to you all. Well done to the boys who took part in the Hammers Murrayfield or Bust challenge at the weekend, raising over £50,000 for the Friends of Charing Cross Hospital. You bunch of absolute legends. That is amazing. Hello to Archie Webster in Lyndhurst, Hampshire, to Joshua and Hannah in Wicklow, Ireland, and a happy birthday to Hannah. Happy birthday to you. Also, hello to 10-year-old Thomas in Lincolnshire. Great wildlife photos. Keep practicing those photo skills because you are absolutely nailing it, sir. And Aaron Val Walkley, 8 from Bromley, says, I've been studying and painting birds in our garden and would like to know, can birds communicate or be understood by other species other than their own? Terrific question. Absolutely they can. So the classic would be an alarm call. So let's say, for example, what can we hear at the moment? Everything's a bit distant. Okay, so let's say at the moment we could hear a blackbird. Blackbirds have several different kinds of song. They have their sub-song, their full song. They also have contact calls and alarm calls. An alarm call, you'll definitely recognise it. It's like a chink, 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 and it's a response to a predator. When a blackbird alarm calls, the other birds pay attention to. Likewise, if a blue-tit alarm calls, everything is listening out for the signs, the telltale signs that a universal predator could be around, whether that's a domestic cat or a sparrowhawk or a magpie. And that can be extrapolated to other animals. So, for example, when we were working in India with tigers, what we saw was that you would find groups of monkey and deer who would be associating with each other. They would be foraging together, even though foraging on totally different things and not interacting. But if one of them saw a tiger from up high or from down low, they would make an alarm call and both animals would react. So essentially they're working together while actually not working together, if that makes sense. So yes, terrific question. Next we have Noah, age 6 on Saturday. Happy birthday for Saturday. Would like to ask, how do ladybirds start out in life? We often find strange black cases on our back. Do you mean on our back garden? Maybe. That stay for a few days, then disappear. We thought they might turn into ladybirds. Okay, so I can answer this with a photo that has come in from Darcy, age 9. So this is a photo of both a beautiful ladybird and some ladybird larvae. Now, ladybird larvae or larvae are voracious predators, particularly of things like aphids. So they're actually similar in habit to the adults, but very different in appearance. And I guess this could lead us somewhat onto a bit of a conversation about metamorphosis, about change in animals. So there are lots of different kinds of metamorphosis. We would be at one end of the scale as human beings. A human baby is the same as an adult human, it's just smaller. There are some kinds of bugs or insects which look very similar to the adults, but perhaps they just have slightly different features. I mean, so here on the river, what we're seeing right now, a huge amount is mayflies. So this would be a typical nighttime scene here on the river as the sun is setting. The air is filled with these flying golden shapes like little pixies as their wings are backlit in the dusk light. And these are the adults of mayfly larvae or larvae, which have been living below the surface as what are known as nymphs. At the right time, triggered perhaps by temperature or by day length, all of the same species of mayfly will emerge simultaneously. They come up to the surface, and they will. Sorry, let me get back to this main camera. They come up to the surface, they molt, they emerge with wings, they fly to a nearby bush, they molt again, and then the males start bouncing up and down in what's known as a nuptial dance to attract in the females. They mate, the females lay their eggs on the water, the eggs go down to the bottom, turn into nymphs, and they will stay that way for a year. With dragonflies, it could be 2 years or even more. However, even though a mayfly nymph or larvae looks very different to the adult insect, essentially it's the same thing, but the adult has wings. That's completely different to the full metamorphosis that you get in butterflies and moths. And I've got loads and loads of questions about that, so let me get on to some of those. Bluebell, 7 from Worthing, asks, is it true that caterpillars turn into soup in the cocoon before becoming butterflies? Dylan, Henry and William want to know what happens inside a chrysalis. Dylan and Esme have just hatched 5 caterpillars into painted lady butterflies, want to know what happens as a chrysalis. We have Abby and Isaac from Sawston, Cambridge, have elephant hawk moth caterpillars and want to know how it makes a cocoon. Amazing. Rachel Crampton, my little boy 4, wants to know what to look for before butterflies emerge from their chrysalis. We have some that we've watched since they were tiny caterpillars. Sophie and Michael, aged 6 and 5, wants to know the differences between a butterfly's chrysalis and a moth's cocoon. And Bluebell and Skip want to know the difference between a chrysalis and a cocoon, please. Okay, so essentially, the transitional phase in insects can always be called a pupa, and that's the solid little, usually dark lump which doesn't move and which is in its transformational stage, and that's what you would get when a maggot is transitioning through to becoming a fly, a pupa. A cocoon is what moths particularly will wind silk into a sort of protective sleeping bag around that solid shape, and that's the cocoon. The chrysalis is usually only referred to in butterflies, and that is the solid form that they molt into, and inside that is where that grand transformation, one of the most extraordinary things that happens in all of nature, is taking place. And one of the earlier questioners who asked, does a caterpillar turn into a soup? Kind of pretty much it does, really, yeah. So it starts to break down. It breaks down into what are very similar to pluripotent stem cells. I think they're called imaginal discs. Racking my brain back to my sort of GCSE biology. But those are what will then come back together to form the completely different creature, which is the adult butterfly. It cracks out of the chrysalis, it emerges, pumps insect blood into its wings, and finally will take flight as a winged adult. And that is a complete or hollow metabolous metamorphosis. Okay, let's get to my questions. Hello to Zach and Emily from Milton Keynes, from Stewie, Myla from Fife. Hello, Myla, how you doing? Hello from William, Jack and Adam, from Violet and Stella in Wokingham, who found a slow worm in the woods the other day. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Hi from Finn. Lots of people saying I'm sweating. Yes, I am sweating. I'm sat here in the sunshine answering your questions. Of course I am. Do you know what as well? I made a rookie error. I forgot to put my sunblock on this morning. So if I start sort of like frizzling like a vampire in the sun, that's why. Good morning, Rianne. How are you? Thank you very much for getting in touch. Hi, Lucas. You're 11 tomorrow. Happy birthday to you. Mabel and Ned say I'm looking snazzy. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. Birthday shout out for Daniel, 6 on Sunday. Amazing stuff. Hello to Cameron, to Josh and Flo, to Mary and Bethany watching on lovely Anglesey. You lucky people. That's one of the most beautiful places in the whole of the UK. We love it. Hello to Josh, to Fergus, just over the road in Bourne End. Hello, mate. How are you? To Daisy and Biggleswade, to Dylan, Daisy and Darcy. And I already said hello to you. And happy birthday to Roman, aged 9 in Loughborough. Okay, so let's get some more questions on the go. I have. Oh, this is a nice question. We're on a sheep farm in Australia. My 6-year-old asked where the very first sheep came from. How did it get born? So, a domestic sheep didn't just get born as a domestic sheep. It would have been its ancestor would have been a wild sheep, something like a mouflon, an Asian species, which would have been domesticated over time. So taken into captivity potentially for the youngsters, or for it to be used for its wool or leather or its meat, and they would have been made more and more docile over time until eventually they became a domesticated modern sheep. It's kind of the same process that's happened with dogs and cats and many other domestic animals. I can hear my swallows behind me, but they're not actually perching yet, otherwise I'd show them to you. Maddie and Kirsty from Oxford want to know if any animals get grey hair as they grow old, and do any get wrinkly skin? Well, yes, they do. Certainly walrus and elephant get more wrinkly as they get older, and the classic grizzling that you get on the back of a mountain gorilla is, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like grey hair, although it's a sign of maturity. Oh, hello there, little one. Hello, what have you got there? I've just been joined by Helen and Logan. Let's bring them in. Do you want to come? That is a train. Yes, very much a train.
Gordon.
I don't think it's Gordon. It's black, isn't it? Isn't Gordon blue? So I just wanted to actually throw one of the questions to Helen, which was the one earlier on about how life here on the river has been changing since we're in lockdown. I mean, you're out obviously rowing on the river lots. Have you noticed big changes in the wildlife this year?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, one of the things I'd like to do is get out on the water first thing in the morning, and it'll be in a kayak or paddleboard or sometimes a rowing boat. And I've never ever seen it like this. So just this morning I rode through this whole flock of birds. I had to sit there and wait for them all to disperse, and I realised they all had chicks with them. And I reckon there's double the number of chicks on the river at the moment. And the main difference is when you see the nests, they all look really different to any other year, and they're all really high out of the water. And some years when I've been on the water paddleboarding, you'll see a boat go past, and you'll see the wash spread out, and it's fine, and another boat, and you can go through a whole weekend and everything's fine. It takes one boat at the end of that weekend to come up the river too fast and make all this wash and these waves. And I've been beside nests before, and I've watched the eggs get washed out of the nests, and so that hasn't even happened once this year. So all of the nests are full of eggs and they're all hatching, and it's amazing.
It is, yeah, it has been really special. It's been an incredible spring, and you know, I feel a little bit sort of cautious about wanting to say anything super positive in a time that so many people have found so challenging, but I do think that this will have been a really good time for wildlife, a time when it has been given a rest, although we, as you can see, have not with our little wriggling youngster. Logie, can you tell us what is that bird over there?
Turkeys.
Oh,
Oh, that was the train.
just dropped the train in the
Looks
river.
like I'm going in the river.
Okay, I've got one last question here. Ariane, who's 5 in South London, lost her front tooth yesterday and would like to know if this happens to animals as they grow. She'll be watching with her sister Suki tomorrow. So yes, oh well done, Helen. One dripping train out of the river. Yes, so crocodiles, for example, will lose and regrow teeth continuously throughout their lives. Most mammals will have, as we humans do, a set of baby or deciduous teeth, which they will lose completely before gaining their adult teeth. So it's quite a common thing. You want to take him just for a second? Okay, so I think it's probably time to wrap things up. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be doing these wildlife Q&As. I know that a lot of people are already going back to school, so I will be back here next week, next Wednesday. I will, listen to all of your comments and your whether you want this to continue or whether you're not going to be able to watch it live. Let me know. I want to have a massive shout out to all my neighbours, to Carl and Pam, to Tess, and to the local farmers James and Tina, who've just been so amazing in helping me to run these. Like I say, I'll carry on next week. I'm going to be on Springwatch all of next week on BBC Two. I also have tonight is the SES Scientific Exploration Society Awards. I'm receiving an award for Explorer of the Year, which is just so exciting. And that will be online. I'm going to try and get it up on my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel. If not, head to YouTube and look for the SES site, and you'll be able to watch it live there for free. People like Tim Peake are going to be there. It's going to be an absolutely amazing night if you're looking for something to do this evening. And thank you guys so much for all of your questions, for getting in touch, and for just supporting me through this. And I will see you guys next week.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.